Hi everybody, Ricky here from Behind the Bars TV. In this video I'm going to talk about adversity and how sometimes it lands you in prison. Obviously prison channel, talking about motivation and talking about prison. So this one is going to be a bit of a mixture, and as you might be able to see by the steady movement in my phone of getting a new car phone holder, because the last one halfway through the video fell off and it was distracting us when I was doing the video. But let's get into it. So adversity, what is adversity and how does it affect you? Adversity is something that each and every one of us will experience on multiple occasions. A lot of people have already been through adversity, come out the other end, but again at some point in your life you will face it again, and it's about how you deal with it, how you challenge it, and how you move forward. But adversity is something, a difficult situation in your life or some misfortune which you've had, which could be down to, a lot of the time, the biggest, most hardest bit of adversity is losing a loved one. Now today marks 7 years since my wife's Auntie Linda, who was a valued member of the family, took her own life because she could no longer go on in this life, and obviously the rest of the family was left to deal with it and go through adversity. So to bring awareness as well in this video, just let people know, if you are facing adversity, the best thing to do and the first thing to do is speak about it. Speak about it with your loved ones, your family, or if you have got the misfortune of already been through adversity and not having any loved ones or family to talk to about it, reach out to somebody else. There's always someone out there, even a stranger, that will listen to you. And a problem shared is a problem halved, and I definitely believe in that saying. It definitely works, because I've bottled things up in the past over the years, more so in my younger years before I went to prison, and that's what sometimes leads you in the wrong path. Gets worse and worse if you don't deal with it or talk about it and try and cope with it. Because sometimes you can't deal with it, you'll never get over it, but you can learn to live with it and learn to cope with it. And a lot of people, or the majority of people that I've met in prison, are there because of what they've faced in life. And this is why a lot of people out here who have never been to prison, or they look down upon people that have been to prison, should always look at the other side of the story. I know some people don't deserve it because of the crimes that they do, and everyone has got their own opinion on what different crimes are and whether it's worthy of someone having that judgment on them. But a lot of the lads that I've met in prison have had a very traumatic childhood. They've been brought up in the system. They've had adversity from being born. They've been born to heroin addict mothers. Some people have even been born in prison, which is how you kind of get a more difficult situation than that. Being born in prison, you're destined for a life of adversity. Getting born in prison, if you don't get away from it from a young age, maybe get fostered into adopted into a nice family. But a lot of the lads have had the misfortune of being brought up in a bad household, a bad lifestyle, and they've never faced this childhood trauma, and that's how they've ended up in prison. But a lot of people, the majority of you watching this, might not have even had any adversity in your life, but if you do, or when you come across it, it's not if, it's when, because we've all got loved ones. And if you lose a loved one, then that's going to be the most difficult part of your life. The biggest lesson in adversity you will ever have, if you haven't already dealt with it. I've had it on numerous occasions, and believe me, it took me a lot of years to get over it. The biggest part of it, if most of you have been watching my story, the podcast that I've done, I lost my friend nearly 10 years ago now to suicide. And I actually found him, and I tried to bring him back, tried to revive him, and that was the biggest biggest thing for me. It messed me up big style. It took me a lot of years to not get over it, but cope with it. But I do cope with it now, and I am on a better path. But again, I ended up back in prison, and if you follow the trail back over, it all stemmed from that suicide. That's why my life started going the way it did a bit, and that's why I ended up back in prison, because of my actions. And it all, like I say, if you followed like a trail going back, it all stemmed from that suicide that I experienced that messed my head up. But even though I was talking about it and dealing with it, it was still messing us up every so often. It's not until you actually face more adversity, like I did going back to prison, which is another difficult time, but I had to endure and get over it. But it was all me undoing. Ended up back in there because of what I'd done. This is not about blaming anybody, it's about taking things on and accepting what you've done. Because if you don't accept it, accept your own behaviours that you're doing because of what you've seen or what you've been through in life, you've got to accept your behaviours first to become better and try and get over the adversity, because you will get better in time. It's just you've got to learn how to deal with it and cope with it and talk about it. Because like I've mentioned, if you haven't already had the misfortune of losing a family member, when you lose a one, you're going to be grieving, and grief brings out the bad in people sometimes. But you've got to learn to get on with your life and think about the positive things in life, because death is just a part of life. Obviously sometimes deaths, the way they happen, it is traumatic, and it's sometimes you think you're never going to get over it, but you've got to deal with it in the right way, or you'll end up in a bad situation where these negative things that happen in your life, adversity, are just going to create further adversity, until sometimes you create adversity. Lads have went on to do further things that have ended up in prison, where they're now stuck in that adversity. You can come out the other end when you've been in adversity. Wish I had a pound for every time I said in this video, but if you don't get out of it, the lads that are in there doing life sentences, the amount of lives that they have went on to affect because of the way they were feeling and the way their heads were messed up, they've went on to commit murders. So then they're stuck in there for the next 30 years. They might never get out. But then the victims' families have got to go through the trauma and the adversity, and it's just a rippling effect that just never ends, and you're stuck in that vicious cycle of negative mindset, and you've created further negative mindsets, and it's just a fucked up world that you've created, or you could get into, if you don't nip it in the bud and deal with your issues and get on with your life and think about the positive things in life. But I just wanted to put this out there, just to, like I said, 7 years to the day since my wife's auntie committed suicide. Also lost two of my best friends to suicide, and I wanted to bring awareness and let people know that when you face adversity, you've got to climb out of that hole. No matter how deep it is, how deep you go down, you feel like you're in that grave with them, you go that deep underground, but you need to pull yourself out of it, get on with your life, and think about the positive things, and focus on the people that are still here, the ones that are worthwhile, the ones that mean the world to you, and think about them. Create a better future for them and yourself. And also, if it's the adversity of losing someone, do it for them. Go on through your life and live your life for them and have the best life, because they're not here no more. They don't want you to be wallowing and down, because if they are looking down and they can see what they've left behind, or they can see you're upset because of the emotions you're experiencing and what's happening because of deaths or whatever's happened, just carry on and do it for them and live your life for them. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you are enjoying it, remember to like and subscribe. Take care, everyone.